Welcome to the Nurture Network podcast, where motherhood meets transformation. I'm Jess Baldenhofer, certified parent coach, educator, and mom on a mission to help you move beyond overwhelm and create a deeper connection with your kids and yourself. Each episode is packed with real tools, relatable stories, and the support you deserve. Let's dive in and take another step toward the peaceful, fulfilling parenting journey you've been searching for. I often work with clients one-on-one and in group settings, and what always inevitably comes up is one partner who seeks out the coaching is looking to get their partner on the same page, or at least in good conversation around how they can work together better in their parenting and communicate better. So today we're going to focus on this topic. So some of the benefits for children in working together as a team is that there's security and togetherness. So kids feel safe when the family feels like it's working as a unit. It also greatly benefits children to see adults with diverse opinions and even approaches to life coming together and still working as a team. This is really good lessons for kids. Modeling conflict resolution. So kids can really see parents, partners working out conflict and seeing the resolution, seeing them figure out how to move forward together. It's really good modeling for kids. Working as a team as parents really teaches collaboration skills for your kids. Your kids get to watch you work together, collaborate, figure stuff out, problem solve. And this models a lot of good things for children to learn for the future. And I also like to say emotional intelligence is hereditary. So when our kids see us being emotionally intelligent, see us communicating our needs well to each other, and also really modeling these tools of how to be aware of your own feelings, kids learn so much from that, more than they do from us telling them how to do it. So there are multiple things that play into how we parent. And I've just put together like the three biggest ones. And I think it's really important to understand where our parenting tactics come from. A, to see how different we are from our partners, and B, to really understand where the root of our approaches kind of come from so that we can work better with our partner. So one of the top three sort of starting points for where our parenting comes from is childhood and upbringing. So most of us went to the parenting school of our parents, meaning we only really learned how to be a parent from what we saw our parents do. And this is very common. And unless people are really, really seeking out a lot of different parenting approaches and figuring out how to integrate them into their lives, they really only have the tools that they were given from their parents. Another major component of why we parent the way we do is our personality and our levels of self-awareness. So we're all born with a personality. We're all born with sort of a type of personality. And hopefully that, sticks with us and continues, but it can also go hand in hand with a certain amount of self-awareness of why you do the things that you do and what your needs are, et cetera. So all of that plays into how we parent our children. And then the third major component of how we parent is daily stressors. So there are a lot of stressors that come into our lives on a day-to-day basis. And even two partners in one household raising kids together, they still might have very different daily stressors that play into their daily lives and their daily levels of patience and ability to maintain calm. So it's important to really be aware of daily stressors and how they're affecting your day-to-day approach to life. So as we become really aware of the things that affect our parenting every day, I want to walk us through a process of how we can work together with our team member, with our partner, to show up in parenting together, support each other where possible, and also make sure that each person is really being responsible for their own well-being and their own happiness while also taking care of each other. So this is a 4-step process that I suggest. And the beginning parts of the process are really more about sitting down with your partner outside of all the craziness of parenting, finding just even 10, 15 minutes to ask each other some questions and connect with each other around parenting and values and goals. So The step one piece of coming together to do this is to start with taking care of yourself. Each partner in the family is responsible for their own mental health and well-being. And in general, not always, but in general, doing the things in our day-to-day lives that we know will take care of ourselves. So that can be your mind and body health. It can be your own acknowledgement of your own triggers, knowing what the things are that really trigger you and that really set you off. Are you, as an individual, asking for help when you need it? Are you asking for outside help? Are you asking for help from your partner? Are you making sure you get the support you need in your day-to-day life? Are you taking personal accountability? This is really important. Each partner has to take their own accountability for the things that they want to work on and that they want to grow on and the times that they make mistakes so they can learn from them. Is each partner communicating effectively? Communication is huge in terms of asking for what you need, what we like to call as parent coaches, nonviolent communication. So communication where you can really come from a place of understanding, but also come from a place of saying calmly and concretely what it is that you need in different moments. And as I mentioned before, it might involve getting outside support therapy. Do you have a coach? Do you have the right exercise regimen, the things that are going to keep your body and your mind regulated? So step two is this kind of step of coming together and having this bigger conversation of how you want to parent together. And I call it family values. So the first step is kind of aligning together. What are our top three family values? If we are two partners working together and trying to make this team/family work, what are our top three values so that these values can kind of guide and drive the decisions that you make, the goals that you have? And then the next step is planning goals. For example, what do you want to improve about your family lives? What do you want to make sure that you're doing every day? Maybe it's traditions, maybe it's celebrations, but they should be aligned with your values. And then the third step of this is delegating. So it is kind of important to look at the broad scope of sort of the family work, which may be like direct engagement with the kids, or it may be the day-to-day tasks of taking care of the home or managing all the kids, sports after school, et cetera, et cetera. How can we best delegate these tasks based on people's work schedules and abilities? And again, like knowing your own boundaries and what you can manage, working together to delegate. And then it's important that working as a team, that you really recognize and kind of say out loud that you have a mutual commitment to family well-being, that it is an all-for-one situation and it's not a me isolated situation. So not each partner is not working for themselves and figuring out what they need only for themselves, but that there is this mutual goal and commitment to the family's overall well-being. And it really sets you in this mindset of we're working together as a team. So when you're coming together and you're talking about these topics, here are just some examples of questions you can ask each other that maybe wouldn't occur to you to ask your partner this, but I think these questions are really helpful in terms of understanding where your partner's coming from, because you're not the same person, you don't have the same needs, you don't have the same boundaries, and you don't even have the same sort of day-to-day approaches to life. So some of these questions might be, what are the kids' behaviors that trigger you the most? What kind of support do you need when you're stressed? What support do you need from me? What support do you need outside? What parts of our family life bring you the most joy? What are your favorite things to teach and share with our kids? So these questions are really great for getting a sense of not assuming what our partners might say, but really getting a sense of where they're coming from, how they're thinking about their parenting, and what their approaches are. And what I really like about these questions is that they're open-ended and that there's no right or wrong answer. It's just about kind of understanding where the other person is coming from so that you can move forward with really positive strategies. So the next step in this process is embracing your differences. So what might come out of the questions that you ask each other is that you actually have very, very different approaches to things, very different triggers, very different strengths in your parenting. So the first step of this would be to determine those strengths. What are each individual partner's strengths and what do they bring to the table for this team? When you have a team that plays baseball, for example, each member of the team has different things they're good at and different positions on the team. And the team doesn't work unless each person is playing their specific role. Everybody doesn't have to be everything. So determine those strengths and then delegate tasks and roles based on this. So, there are certain things that you can delegate out that you don't have to both try to do. And you can think about how you can support each other in using your strengths to alleviate the burden of the other partner. So again, and this is a recurring theme, is how can you communicate your needs in this conversation and checking in with each other? How can you say, I really need this. When I come home from work, I really need 15 minutes to just decompress. How can we support me in getting that? And then the other partner might need something else, and that's okay. And you need to be able to communicate these needs in a direct way. And then we need to respect each other's boundaries. So there are certain boundaries that everyone has, and we need to respect them and understand them and problem solve ways to make sure that people's boundaries are not continually being trampled on. This last part of this is just problem solving together. So oftentimes we see things come up with our kids, or there's a pattern in the family that especially one partner is really struggling with. How can you problem solve different ways to affect positive change, with also the understanding that maybe the first thing and the second thing won't necessarily do the trick, but that it's okay to just try different things and make mistakes and figure it out together. So the last step of this process is really, I call it navigate parenting together, but it's really about like in the moments when you're with the kids and you're parenting together and trying to get through these difficult times together, or even these good, happy times together as a full family. I think in the moments when you're parenting, to just keep an eye out, notice each other's needs, notice when somebody is struggling or maybe just needs some reassurance and support. And after that, like look for ways to help. So we can't just think about what we need in each moment. We need to think about, I'm going to look and see if there's a way that I can support my partner, if I can help them, if I can engage where I'm not engaging, etc. And then again, it comes back to communication. Again, I keep repeating this, but respectfully communicating with each other is so important. Remember that in every engagement you have with each other, you're modeling for your kids how to communicate, how to work together with somebody, how to collaborate. And so in connection with that, as much as possible to try to resolve conflict away from kids. So sometimes you're going to disagree. Sometimes you're even going to fight in front of your kids. But if you can, to kind of save the conflict working out for away from the children and in front of the children, to support each other and be respectful, you can resolve conflict away. If you do have conflict in front of your kids, which I know can happen, try to make sure that they see you coming back together and resolving and giving each other a hug and saying, okay, we figured this out. And that really helps them see the full cycle of disagreeing with somebody, coming from a different place, maybe even arguing, but coming together and figuring it out together. I think it's important to remember to focus on the positive when you are within this team situation and navigating parenting together. It's important to focus on, what is your partner doing well? How are they trying their best? How can you sort of reflect a positive approach with your kids too? And then take breaks. Remember to give each other the permission to take breaks or ask for a break, or helping the other person just to get a buffer when they need it. And this is something else you can do in front of your kids. It's important to say, I feel myself getting really frustrated and I want to be calm when I talk to you. So I'm going to take some 5 deep breaths, or I'm going to ask mom to come in and, take over for a few minutes, that sort of thing. So in the heat of these moments, here are some sort of concrete tools that you can use. One I really like is when one parent is getting really reactive or really stressed out, the other parent can just come in and silently just tap them on the shoulder and kind of take over. And sometimes you can agree ahead of time, like, I always get stressed out at bedtime. If you see me getting, at my wit's end, can you come in and tap me out? And that can be a really effective tool to just give the parent who needs it the break to step away and take a deep breath. And then in relation to this, you can agree upon nonverbal cues for support. So in your moments of meeting and planning for these situations, you can say, okay, when I kind of put up 2 fingers, peace sign, like, I need you to come step in and take over, or I need you to be in it with me. You can have little signs for what you need. And try as much as you can to show unity. I said this in the beginning, but kids need that feeling of safety and to feel like their parents are working together and there is unity, even if they disagree, is really important for kids and reducing harm in the home and creating a peaceful home. And then I bring up again, press pause, take a break. As I said before, telling your child, I need to go take some deep breaths, or not having it be a threat. Like, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to have dad come in here and fix the problem. But instead to say, mom really needs a pause right now. I just need to go take some deep breaths. I feel myself getting frustrated. And then asking your partner to step in, or just giving your kids a break too. Maybe they need a break also. Disagreeing later, I mentioned before, try to keep the conflict sort of between the two of you. Offer encouragement to each other. I think we really forget this a lot. We forget to give our kids positive reinforcement, and we forget to give our partners positive reinforcement to really say, like, you're doing great. You got this, mama. Something like that. Like, we need to hear that from our partners. And again, going back to the beginning is like really finding the time to debrief later when there's conflict in the family, when there's behavioral patterns that are coming up with the kids that are consistently frustrating. It's really important to take the time as the 2 or 3 parents running the family to really step away and say, let's take a moment to debrief about what happened and problem solve for what we can do next time. We tend to be so depleted and exhausted that we don't want to talk about it. We want to kind of like avoid these things and avoid what feelings came up for us and avoid the difficult things that might have happened. But the patterns will only keep repeating if we don't take the time to sit down and debrief without shame, without judgment, and support each other in creating positive change for the next time. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have included a workbook called the Teamwork Framework, and this is the questions that I listed in this presentation and also just some bullet points to talk about to get together on the same page and problem solve together and work together and understand each other better. And if you'd like to talk with me more about this and have me help you problem solve, you can reach out to me at jessica@mothernurturecoaching.com. You can go to my website at mothernurturecoaching.com, and you can find me on Instagram at mothernurturecoaching. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Nurture Network. If this episode resonated with you, subscribe so you won't miss the next one. Share it with a fellow mom who might need it too. Until next time, remember that nurturing yourself is the first step in nurturing your family.